Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host Hal, and today's episode is the start of the big Halloween marathon. So, since Halloween as a franchise is hopefully coming to an end this year with the aptly titled Halloween Ends, I thought it would be a good idea to finally watch through all these movies. And seeing as this is a podcast where we talk about the movies in my collection, I went out and bought every single Halloween movie on DVD and Blu-ray. And, that went about as well as it could, I guess, even though I'm halfway through. No, in all seriousness, it's actually going a lot better than I was expecting. But, again, we're only halfway through with these movies. So today's episode's only going to be Halloweens 1 through 5, and I'll get to the rest of them when I get to those episodes. But today, let's just jump right in and review all the Halloween movies I've seen so far, starting with the original. So, the original Halloween. What is there to say about this? There's not a lot to say, and there is a lot to say, actually. It's an interesting movie. So, I'd say overall, I've always heard this is one of those special horror movies to a lot of people. Like, this is up there as like a horror classic. And the first time I watched it, I was like, so what? I was not impressed with what it was presenting to me. I felt like I had seen a lot of what this was trying to do, so I was just not impressed. I will say, upon this most recent watch through, I really liked it. I didn't love it. I will say I don't love this movie as much as other people do. Like, there are people out there who, like, love this movie. They absolutely adore it. They think it's like one of the greatest freaking movies ever made. And I'm not really there with them. I like it. I think it's a good movie. I think so far it's the best movie actually out of the whole franchise. But I do think I lean more towards I think it's a good movie, not so much a masterpiece or a classic. Now with that said, I do like a lot of what John Carpenter has done with this movie. You know, I love The Thing. That's easily my favorite John Carpenter movie, as I've said before. But this, I can see kind of being, I guess, maybe my second favorite. I don't know. I'd have to really watch through all his stuff to come to that conclusion. But I guess so far this would probably be my second favorite. I think I have They Live rated higher than this, but I think that would change because it's been years since I've seen They Live. So it's obvious that this movie is kind of one of the original slashers. Like, just watching it, when you watch it looking back, it's so obvious because it doesn't do a whole lot to really stand out. And that's because what it was doing back in the day was already enough for it to stand out. Like, slashers were not that huge back in the day. So this was kind of a big turning point for the horror genre because this kind of started the slasher genre that we know what it is today. You know, without Halloween, we wouldn't have Scream. We wouldn't have the Slumber Party Massacre. We wouldn't have Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, all of these movies are because of this movie. Now, there were slasher-esque movies before it, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out before Halloween, and Psycho predates it by a good 20 or so years. So, I can't say this is exactly original, but it did pave the way for what eventually became the slasher genre. And I'd say more often than not, I'm quite not a fan of the slasher genre, but when it does these things well, I do acknowledge that, and I think this is a very good slasher movie. It is a very good, just simple story about this killer gone loose and preying on victims to murder them. It's a very simple story. Michael Myers, at the age of a child, kills his sister because she had sex, or she didn't, or I don't know. He just kills his sister because he sees her with a guy, and then years go by, and he escapes from the mental institution that he was being kept at, and he goes on a killing spree, killing 3 or 4 people, but in very gruesome ways, by just either stabbing or choking them. But this movie is known for its tense build-up. So obviously there's not a ton of killing. It's not like a bloodbath. A lot of this movie is just Michael Myers just kind of stalking characters in the background. And I'm sure back in the day it was a lot more impressive. Nowadays, there are things I do like about that, but it does seem a little slow at times. So I will say this. The score is immaculate. It's very, very good. I love the Halloween theme, but also not just the theme song, just like the score itself, how it's like ambient and just this low. At times it's very ear-piercing just because I guess the technology with the sound editing and mixing wasn't that great back in the day. But even still, that does add to the very tense nature of the story. Because you just like... It's very creepy. It's very ambient. I love the way the music kind of enhances a lot of this stuff. And John Carpenter did the music, so he's really freaking awesome as a composer. I'm a little iffy on the direction. I mean, there's certain aspects of the directing I love, but for all his flaws as a director, I mean, he's a great composer, I gotta say, which is impressive. But yeah, speaking of the directing, like, and that kind of goes into like the cinematography, like I love the shots that are first person perspective in this movie. It's so seamless. It's so like the first shot of the movie is literally from Michael's perspective as a little kid. And yeah, it is a little obvious that it is just a guy with a camera, but I still like the extra mile of being a first person perspective. And you know, you get the mask kind of going over the camera shot, so then it's like you're looking through the mask that Michael's looking through. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense visually, but it's still a cool effect of seeing just through the eye holes of this mask, and you see like the knife being stabbed through. It's really cool, and I think I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure the first shot of the movie is just one continuous long take. And that's really cool. Like all like the setup that had to go into setting that up and making it look like it's naturally him just walking up to the house and stabbing his sister. Like it looks great for what it is. And even just other camera shots just look really impressive just because of how simplistic it is. But the first person perspective is what makes this movie stand out, in my opinion. And it's very creepy and works to the movie's advantage for sure. There's this really, really creepy shot towards the beginning when like Loomis and his nurse are like driving up to the mental institution, and you just see all the mental patients walking around in the hardcore rain. It's like, oh shit, what happened? And it's like a really good way of showing just like how dangerous Michael is. Like we're not even really seeing what he did to escape, but he's just out of there. Like you're seeing the aftermath. And a lot of, I will talk more about the aftermath of a Michael attack in later movies, because they try to recreate that, but it's not as impressive as this movie. But I think I should start talking about the things I don't like, because I will say I think the things I do love the most about this movie has to do with it technically. Like I said, the music, the cinematography, stuff like that. Like all of that stuff is very, very good. When it comes to stuff like the acting, I'm not so much a fan of. So the acting is not great, even though it has known actors. Well, not then known, but eventually became known. So Donald Pleasance, was known, and then Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't as big as she is now. But, you know, these are people who I know can act really, really well. Like, I think Donald Pleasance is a great actor. I think Jamie Lee Curtis can be a great actor. But a lot of their scenes are kind of awkward. Now, obviously, those two are the best actors in the movie. Everybody else, not so much. It genuinely feels like it's their first day on set sometimes. I'm like, oh, I didn't like that line read, or oh, that sounded really awkward. One thing I noticed was, like, people are either talking very, very quickly, or they're talking very slowly and awkward. And a lot of it seems dubbed over, which is really funny because you think, oh, if we're dubbing it over, we're trying to make it sound better, but it doesn't sound better. So it's like, what did the original take sound like? And there's just a couple other things that kind of annoy me, like Dr. Loomis just so happens to come across the exact pickup truck that Michael had hijacked and stole the jumpsuit from. Like, it's a cool scene where, like, he finds this pickup truck, but doesn't see the dead body of the guy who drove the pickup truck. But it's like, okay, it would have been cool if he found it, but he just so happens to come across it accidentally because he's, like, at a payphone, and then he, like, hangs up the payphone and he notices the truck. It's like, oh, what a gigantic coincidence. I don't know. It was just something that really kind of annoyed me when I saw it. Also, with that scene, there's like he's at the payphone. In the background, you see like a bunch of mountains, and this is supposed to be taking place in Illinois, and that's the Midwest where like everything's all flat and stuff like that. And then also there's a bunch of scenes at a school where you see lockers that are outside of the school because obviously this movie was filmed in California where the weather is nicer more often throughout the year, so people can have their lockers outside. Whereas in Illinois, again, the Midwest, it gets really cold out there, so having lockers outside during the wintertime is kind of counterintuitive. That's just something that, now that I know that, because I've been told this movie was filmed in California and doesn't actually take place in Illinois, now it's just something that I notice, and I just can't unsee it. Like, now I just noticed the palm trees in the back, and it's just like, what fucking palm trees are you going to find in fucking Illinois? It's just something that kind of takes me out of it, but I mean, whatever. Like any normal person who hasn't ever been to Illinois or California is going to know the difference. It's just something that I've noticed, and now I can't unsee it. One of my favorite reveals that Michael is hiding is when Annie goes into the car and she notices like all the windows are fogged up, and it's like, oh shit, like someone's in there just breathing up a storm, and it's Michael, and then he just pops out and chokes her. It's like, it's a great way to like set up the scene, how it's just like, oh shit, like something's wrong here. Also, fun fact, the girl who plays Lindsay grew up to be one of the Real Housewives. I don't know which show she's on, because there's like a bajillion of them, and I don't care for Bravo, but apparently that's how she's famous. She was the little girl in Halloween. I did not know that. So, weird fun fact for you. And one more thing that kind of annoyed me about the movie was we do see Michael Myers' face, and I mean, it's not a big deal. It is what it is. It's just kind of weird that we see it. And I always thought, like, you know, Michael Myers, the whole movie, Loomis is basically saying he's too far gone. Like, that's one of my favorite aspects of the movie is Loomis just always insisting that Michael is not human anymore. Like, he's just evil incarnate. And I kind of like that. I like how we don't need to see a scene of Loomis and Michael together. Like, just by having Loomis state, like, oh, he's beyond saving, he's purely evil, like, there's no going back, like, he must die. Like, that just tells you everything about their relationship. He's just like, he's known Michael all these years, and he's like, no, like, there's nothing left of him. Like, he's too far gone. And that's really interesting. And I feel like by having him shown, like having his face shown kind of takes that away. It's just like, all right, if he's this super evil character, like we shouldn't be humanizing him then. But then we see his face for like a split second, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know. I feel like the point of Michael Myers is not the person underneath the mask, but the mask itself. Like, that's the character of Michael, is the mask. So, I mean, whatever. It's for a couple of seconds, then he puts it back on, and then he gets shot. It's like, whatever. Like I actually give a shit. So, great movie, I must say. It was a lot better the second time around. I do respect it a lot more. I would absolutely watch it again, hands down, but not on the DVD that I watched it. So, to talk about the DVD a little, it is the Anchor Bay DVD release from 2007, and it's the kind of DVD I can't stand. So it's flimsy, the box is flimsy, you get like the recycling logo carved out of the side of the box, so like it makes it a lot more flimsier, and I hate when DVD boxes do that. And also, this DVD has no subtitles, which is really, really, really annoying. Like, I know I speak English, so I don't really need English subtitles, but I like to have English subtitles so then I know what the characters are saying sometimes, because sometimes the audio mixing is not very good in a movie. So like I have to understand what the characters are saying if I actually read what they're saying. But this movie does not have subtitles, so it doesn't give me the option. Like, even if I just have the choice would be fine. Like, I don't always have to watch a movie with subtitles, but, like, just having the option is nice. But, nope, this DVD does not have any of that. So, I really would prefer not to have this, even though it is released through Anchor Bay, and they released Thomas the Tank Engine, and honestly, I think that's really funny that they released both Thomas the Tank Engine videotapes and Halloween, just because they're two completely different sides of the spectrum. But even with that said, I would rather have this on like a nice 4K. So Halloween, good movie, but I'm getting rid of this DVD and I will replace it with a much better Blu-ray at some other point. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to Halloween 2, Electric Boogaloo. So Halloween 2 is a movie that is a sequel that is honestly not that bad. So I was really expecting very little from Halloween 2, with horror sequels being, you know, terrible and everything. I really just was not expecting this to be any good. And considering the fact that, like, Halloween 1 ends on such a satisfying way, like, we didn't need a sequel. Like, yeah, Halloween 1 ends with Michael getting away, so you think, oh, it's gonna continue into the sequel. But, like, I more so interpreted that as, like, saying Michael just will always get away. Like, we don't need to see him always escape because he's just purely evil. I like it just kind of implying that, like, oh, he just got away and he can't be stopped. Like, we've released this evil into the world and he will never go away. Like, we don't need to see all that. It's kind of like how people wanted a sequel to The Incredibles because the first movie ended with the Underminer stuff. It's like, well, no, it's the Underminer was not to set up a sequel. It's more so to insinuate that, oh, this family is going to continue fighting crime and they'll just fight whoever they'll fight next. And it's this weird Underminer character, but we don't need to see that. But people wanted a sequel, so we got a sequel, and guess what? It was not as good as the original. In fact, it was quite boring, but whatever. That's a movie for another time. Let's talk about a different sequel, Halloween 2. But I will say, even though my expectations were below sea level, Halloween 2 was actually not terrible. Now, was it good? Probably not. but it does have things I like about it. I still like the music. It's still John Carpenter music. He didn't direct this movie, but it's still his music, so it's really good. I like the opening intro where you have like the jack-o'-lantern kind of opening up to reveal a skull. That's a really cool effect. There's this really cool shot where Dr. Loomis thinks he sees Michael Myers walking through the street and tries to shoot him. But then the guy who he thinks is Michael gets hit by a cop car. That cop car rams this random teenager into a parked van, and thus the whole thing just explodes into a giant fireball. It's really funny. It's a really funny scene, and honestly, it's beyond words. Like, it's just so baffling to watch, and it's obvious that was probably the most expensive shot in the movie, but still, it's a very cool shot to be proud of. So much so, the DVD that I own of this has it right smack dab in the middle of the box art. But I'll talk about this DVD in a bit. But to talk about the movie itself, it's pretty much just the first movie where you have Michael just stalking Laurie and killing all these people in this hospital, which, by the way, worst hospital staff ever. Just the biggest morons I've ever seen working at a hospital. It's insane how stupid these people are, but whatever. They're all just there so then they can die. But speaking of dying, the deaths in that movie are really good, actually. I like the deaths in Halloween 2 more so than the first movie, honestly. Because, I mean, the first movie has better stuff in it, but the kills are admittedly kind of simple. Like, you get just the characters are either stabbed or they're choked, and which, I mean, that's kind of the point. Like, it's whatever Michael has on him, like a butcher knife or rope to choke somebody with. But here, it's a little more varied. There's a character who is drowned in a scalding hot tub, and she dies by drowning, but also getting her face burned off, even though Michael is putting his bare hands in that and said hot tub, and his hands are fine. They don't seem to burn off, but whatever, minor nitpick. There's this nurse who gets all her blood drained out of her, and this idiot, what was his name, Jimmy, like, tries to run away from it, but like slips on the blood, and then he like walks away, but then dies anyway. That was very strange. I mean, I didn't like Jimmy, but like, I don't know, it's just his death scene was very confusing, but whatever, it was pretty funny. The fact that he just slipped on blood. Oh god, so silly. There's also this really cool scene where like this doctor is revealed to be like dead because like he has like a shot stabbed through his eye, and then that leads to the eventual reveal of Michael Myers' mask coming out of the dark. And then the woman who sees him gets her own eye stabbed by like a shot. And it's a really cool sequence of events. It's like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. So overall, it's not a terrible movie. It's got some neat stuff to it. It's just not as good as the original. Like, that's basically it. But, like I said, the van explosion, the cool kills, it has enough to it that it's not terrible. It is enjoyable. It's an enjoyable sequel, all things considered. I don't think it shits on the original as much as some of the later ones, but like, I mean, it's just not terrible. Again, maybe this is a case of I've just seen so many terrible horror sequels so that my expectations were extremely low, and so I'm kind of saying it's not terrible is more so me just like, I don't know, not really seeing how bad it's supposed to be. But even still, it's not a bad movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it, honestly. But to talk about this DVD that I have of it, so it's a from the company called Good Times DVD. So it's not an official like DVD release from like the studio. It's from some company called Good Times DVD, and this is from 2001. And similarly to my Young Frankenstein DVD, which is from 1998, this is from that era when DVDs were like kind of simplistic. The cover art is hilarious. So it's advertising that it's widescreen, which, to go into that, the widescreen is hilarious. So yes, it is widescreen because you get the two black bars at the top and the bottom, but this is a DVD made for a cube TV. So obviously back in the day, TVs were a lot more cube shaped. They didn't have widescreen TVs until, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s, I would say. But I guess because cube TVs were still popular around that time, this was widescreen meant for a cube TV. So like you'd have the screen filled up with the widescreen and then the two black bars. But because I watched this on a widescreen TV, I got two black bars on the sides as well. So even though it's widescreen, I watched Halloween 2 on a widescreen TV, but it was just a rectangle, and then you had all this blackness surrounding it. It was really funny, actually. It was like, holy crap. Like, this shouldn't even be possible, but it is. Another thing I liked about this DVD, it had subtitles, so that was nice. I liked having that option. Thank you for that, Good Times DVD. You gave me a basic way of watching a movie by giving it subtitles. Thanks for that. So, going through this and really thinking about it, I really like this DVD. I think it's hilarious. I think it's a great time capsule, seeing what DVDs were like back in the day. So, you know what? I'm keeping it. I know it's funny that I'm getting rid of my Halloween 1 DVD, but I'm keeping my Halloween 2 DVD. But like I said, I am eventually going to get Halloween 1 on a nice Blu-ray. But you know what? I don't need Halloween 2 on a nice Blu-ray. I think having it on this really stupid DVD from 2001 is enough. I mean, like I said, this cover is hilarious. I can't bear to see it go. I'm keeping it. It's a keeper. Alright, that takes us from Halloween 2, moving on to Halloween 3. So, this is the one that everyone says is, that it has nothing to do with any of the other ones, because, well, apparently the original plan for Halloween was that every movie was going to be about a different story. So, kind of similar to how Stranger Things Season 1 was just supposed to be about the kids and Will Byers, you know, Halloween 1 was just supposed to be about Michael Myers. And then Halloween 2, 3, 4, and so on was supposed to be a different story. Why they waited until 3 to do this, I mean, that's probably just bullshit, but whatever. They decided to do a story completely different from Michael Myers for Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and it didn't do so hot, so obviously from then on, Halloween was closely related to Michael Myers. Which I think is a shame, because looking at Halloween 3 on its own, it's not a terrible movie. It's pretty fun. It's dumb, it's stupid, it's a little boring towards the middle chunk, but it does have kind of chunks to it that are quite entertaining. So one of the things I like about it most is it's able to capture the Halloween season in every frame. I love the masks that they have. I love the fact that every place, every location has some Halloween decorations to it. It's a very Halloween-esque movie. Like, you could watch this every year for Halloween and still get something out of it. Even though it has nothing to do with Michael Myers, you're still getting something out of it that makes it kind of true to the season of Halloween. So while it's not true to the franchise of Halloween, it's true to the season of Halloween. So it's just a really goofy movie. So you got these robot guys going after characters and killing them for no, I guess there's a reason, but like, damned if I remember it. because there's like some conspiracy. So, all right. So there's these masks on Halloween, and these Halloween masks, and they're very popular. And so every child wants one, and this doctor gets roped into this conspiracy when one of his patients dies. Oh, by the way, the patient dies because this robot, who you don't know is a robot yet, goes up to the guy and just yanks his nose out of his just yanks his nose out of position, so then he can't breathe anymore. He doesn't pull it off, he just dislocates it exponentially, so then he just dies instantly. It was really, really funny. Anyway, so then the daughter of that guy tries to investigate his death, and she takes on the doctor to help her for no reason, just because they needed two characters for the movie to work. So this guy was just like, yeah, I'll help you. All right, you have a family, but whatever. Anyway, so then they like track down to this factory town that's just full of Irish people for whatever reason, and they come across this town because that's where the factory where they make the masks are, and it turns out the billionaire owner of this company, who also owns this town, is evil and wants to kill all of America's youths by just hypnotizing. Or no, what was it? It was like there's some like computer chip in the mask that like when you watch the commercial at a certain time during Halloween, because like, oh yeah, there's this commercial that plays where it's like 2 more days till Halloween, just silver shamrock. Like there's this. It's just this weird commercial, like this earworm of a commercial. And so when you watch it at a certain time and like it like activates the chip, and then all of a sudden like the mask kind of melts onto the kid's face, and then snakes and bugs come out of it, I guess. And he's doing this because I don't know. This movie is insane. It's so nonsensical, and I kind of love it for that. Like, it's just so stupid and so bafflingly... It just does not make any sense. Like, I don't get what even happened throughout most of this movie. The villain just disappears. Like, literally. So, the main character drops a bunch of the computer chips around the computers, and then it causes some sort of weird explosion, and then the Stonehenge thing that they stole, they stole a piece of Stonehenge, which is never brought up again, but whatever. It, like, shoots out a beam into the main villain, and then he just disappears. That's literally what happened. Like, I'm trying to even remember. I'm trying to make sense of it. I swear to God, I'm trying to make sense of it. I don't think the movie understands what happens. It's just so strange. I can't even describe it. I can't even describe this movie. It's just so baffling. But I kind of love it, and just how stupid it is. Even, like, there's a scene where the main character's at a bar and he's watching TV, and a trailer for the first Halloween movie comes on. It's like, oh, I guess that's the connection between the two. It's kind of like how in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4, they turned on the TV and Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 was playing, I guess. Weird. But yeah, I mean, that's just what this movie is. It's just a dumb, stupid movie that has nothing to do with the original. That's just, like, could you imagine anybody watching this if it didn't have the title of Halloween attached to it? No. And I think that's why, because you watch it and you're like, what the fuck am I even watching? But you know what? I kind of love how stupid it is. I kind of love it for that. I really am glad I watched it. And I could honestly watch it again. I kind of prefer it over the second Halloween movie, just because it's so bafflingly idiotic that I love it. I will definitely I would recommend this to anybody watching. You're probably going to hate it. You know what? Fine by me. I loved it a lot. It was so stupid and nonsensical. It was everything I wanted from a dumb, stupid horror movie. It does get a little boring in the middle chunk, but I mean, the good stuff absolutely makes up for the lack of bad stuff. For every long scene where the main lady turns out to be a robot and she's just trying to kill the main character, that's a boring scene. There's the scene of that character named Marge who gets her face blown off by a chip, and you just see her like gaping mouth open because she was poking this computer chip with a bobby pin, and just her whole face just gets fucking I'm a fire and my lasered. It's oh god, it's so stupid but so funny. It's just such a strange movie. So I would love to own this movie, but not this specific DVD. So much like the Halloween 1 DVD, it's a very flimsy box. It's a very flimsy case. It's a very minuscule DVD. There's not a lot to it. There's really no special features, except for one. Here's this really strange special feature this movie has. So typically with most DVDs, you get, you know, special features like trailers. So a DVD will feature trailers of other movies and maybe the movie itself, maybe a trailer for the movie itself. Sure, that makes sense. Not this DVD. This DVD has a selection on the menu that's called recommendations, and it's literally just a screen advertising The Thing and Village of the Damned on DVD. Not trailers. Not trailers. Just a screen showing 2 PNG images of DVDs for those movies. I don't know. I've never seen that in any other DVD except this one. It's so strange to me. Like, at least show trailers for The Thing or Village of the Damned. It's like, and why those two movies? Like, I guess because John Carpenter, but like, John Carpenter didn't direct this movie. I don't even think he wrote it. I think he literally just produced it and provided the music. But like, he didn't do anything that important to the movie, I guess. It's like so strange to me. I guess because his name's just forever forever attached to Halloween as a franchise. I guess that's why. But what a strange menu selection, I must say. But yeah, even as strange as it is, I would rather have Halloween 3 on like a nice Blu-ray. So I am not keeping this DVD, but I will eventually keep the movie when I eventually get it on a nice Blu-ray. Alright, that's Halloween 3 out of the way. Now on to Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Oh, they're not hiding it after all. So, Halloween 4 was made 10 years after the original Halloween, so in 1988. And boy, oh boy, they just really couldn't help themselves bringing back Michael Myers, could they? So, Halloween 2 ends with Michael Myers and Sam Loomis exploding in a hospital, but, you know, to show that, they have Michael Myers wrapped up in bandages. Apparently for 10 years, he just has bandages covered on his face, okay? And Sam Loomis, Donald Pleasance's character, Dr. Loomis, just has a slight scar on his face. I mean, it's more than the scar Dr. Brenner had in Stranger Things 4, but, like, still, really? That's all you got after blowing up a fucking hospital? Like, it's whatever. Minor shit. Like, there's so much more to this movie that sucks. So, Halloween 4, Michael Myers is back, and he is being transferred from one hospital to another, and he just happens to wake up and decides to go on another killing spree. Fast forward to Haddonfield, Illinois, where Jamie Lloyd, the daughter of Laurie, is staying with her foster parents. Yeah, apparently Laurie Strode died. Off screen, it's never brought up why, it's never brought up how. She's just not there. I'm guessing because Jamie Lee Curtis did not want to return for this movie, in which case, okay, then don't make it about anybody related to her. I don't know, just have Michael Myers kill whoever. Like, why does he have to return to Haddonfield? Why does he have to return to kill his niece? It's just, it's literally adding on shit that does not need to be there. But whatever, it's there. It is what it is. So just it's the story we're given. Why not? So Jamie, the daughter, who's like, what, 10 years old, not a terrible actress. I actually quite liked Danielle Harris as Jamie in this movie, and I'll get to it in Halloween 5. She's not a great actress, but for a child, she's actually trying really hard, and I actually commend her for trying a lot of what she's given. She's honestly not terrible. I actually really liked her in the movies. Like, she's acting her heart out. It's really impressive. Like, I've never seen a child actor, or I've rarely seen a child actor really put in their all. Like, when she looks scared, she genuinely looks like she's terrified, which cannot be said for a lot of other child actors I've seen in terrible horror movies. But good for her. She really gives it her all. So yeah, Michael Myers returns and he's killing people, but we don't see them. We barely ever see him kill somebody on screen. It's done so kind of off screen. Like, okay, there's two examples of characters or a character walking into the aftermath of a Michael Myers bloodbath. So Dr. Loomis walks into a diner and it's completely destroyed with dead bodies everywhere. And the implication is that Michael was there. And Michael is still there, actually. Loomis sees him. Okay. Why? Like, you have this neat setup where you have Michael Myers in a diner where he's just killing everybody. That could lead to a really cool scene. But they don't do anything with that. And I get it. They're trying to recapture, I'm assuming they're trying to recapture that moment in the first movie when, like, Loomis and the nurse are, like, approaching the mental institution and you just see these mental patients just walking around in the rain. But, like, that was set up cleverly. Like, and you already did that. Like, now show Michael being an absolute menace to society. But then, okay, later on in the movie, there's a scene where characters go to the police station and it's absolutely ransacked from Michael. Why wouldn't you show that then? Like, I don't know. Show him killing people in mass hysteria. Like, I don't know. That'd be a really cool scene. But no, we're just not allowed to see those really cool scenes in front of us. We're just supposed to interpret what happened. It's like, all right, fine. There are a couple on-screen deaths, but they're not as impressive. Like, there's a scene where he kills the sheriff's daughter, and it's not really all that cool. There's a scene where he kills Jamie's foster sister's boyfriend, Brady, and that was really confusing because it kind of cuts away before you actually see anything. So it's like, all right. Like, I don't know. Why make this rated R if you're not going to actually show anything? Like, yeah, obviously there's limitations to what you're given with an R rating and also limitations to what you actually want to show, but show something. Anything. I'm begging you. Show me something cool. And that's really where this movie kind of falters, in my opinion. It's not terrible, all things considered. Like, watching through Halloween 4, it's not a terrible, terrible sequel. I'm just not as impressed with it as the others. Like, with the other Halloween movies leading up to this, like, even at their worst with Halloween 2 and 3, like, they had moments to them that stuck out. Like, the van explosion scene. Like, Silver Shamrock. Like, the scene where, like, the family is getting killed by all the bugs and snakes. It's like, even though they were stupid movies, they had interesting moments to them that really made them stick out. And that's what makes me want to watch them again and again. What did Halloween 4 have? besides Michael returning? I mean, if we're going off of what this Blu-ray has to say, so I have Halloween 4 here on a nice 4K Blu-ray collector's edition, because when I went out to buy every single Halloween movie, all they had for Halloween 4 was it on this nice Blu-ray from Shout Factory, or Scream Factory, which, okay, fine. It actually looked really good in 4K. It honestly looked really awesome, actually. It was a really good transfer. But anyway, to go on to what I was trying to say, so this movie, the back of the box says, Michael Pataki, Sasha Jensen, and Kathleen Kemott co-star in this smash sequel that marked the long-awaited return to the original storyline and remains infamous for its startling twist ending and graphic violence. First of all, graphic violence in quotes there, buddy, because I've seen more graphic shit on Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. But also, it's startling twist ending. So when I read that, I'm like, oh shit, what is this twist ending you speak of? Well, I'll tell you. I don't know. So the ending is Jamie goes up to her mother, her stepmother, and stabs her, and it plays out like the beginning of the first Halloween movie, where like Michael's at the top of the stairs and he has the knife that's all bloodied and he's wearing the mask. It's the same thing with Jamie. She's like wearing the mask and she has like a bloodied knife, and Dr. Loomis tries to shoot her, which is really funny. But I guess what it's supposed to be heavily implying is that the spirit of Michael Myers is now embodying Jamie, which is really stupid. So, first of all, if you want to go with the idea that, oh, maybe Jamie wanting to kill her mother is hereditary from Michael, it's like, okay, that was never established. She's never been established at being dangerous, so this makes no sense. This is very extremely out of character and out of nowhere. But also, the spirit of Michael Myers embodying this young girl is just really, really out of left field for this franchise. It's kind of stupid, honestly, no matter how you look at it. So, startling, I would not go that far. I'd say stupid. Now, as harsh as I've been sounding with Halloween 4, and I will admit I have sounded very, very harsh towards it, I will say I am kind of fascinated by this movie, just by how I'm more so fascinated by how many people like it. Like, you read the reviews for it on Letterboxd, and people love this movie for some reason. They, like, think it's one of the greatest of the Halloween movies, and I'm just left thinking, why? Like, what does it do that's impressive? Like I was saying, like, there are scenes where I know it's trying to seem artsy by, like, not showing the violence, but, like, just show the violence and it would have been a million times better. And like I said, bringing back Michael is stupid, but they don't really bring him back in any impressive way. They're just like, he just got, badly burned or whatever. It's like, okay, stupid, but whatever. And I don't know why we have to make it about Laurie's daughter is just so strange to me. In fact, not including Laurie just makes it even more confusing. It's like, just make it just completely different characters. I don't even care. Like, just make them not have to do with anything at this point. Just make Michael just kill whoever. Like, who cares? But whatever. Yeah, Halloween 4. Not a great movie, but not the worst horror movie I've ever seen. And maybe I'm just saying this because this is a very nice Blu-ray. Like, the box it comes in is very nice, and it looks really cool. So maybe I'm just being nicer to it, but you know what? I honestly don't want to see it go, even though I don't like the movie, but I kind of want to keep this Blu-ray for now. For now. Maybe my tone will change towards it over time and I'll want to get rid of it, but I think for now, I want to keep it, just because it is a nice Blu-ray, so. And finally, to wrap up this episode, we're going to end off on Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. which is also on a 4K collector's edition, which, again, this was the only version I could find at the shop I was shopping at. And honestly, I kind of love this movie. So, let me just say, maybe the reason I'm okay with keeping Halloween 4 is because without Halloween 4, we wouldn't have Halloween 5, and Halloween 5 is wonky, man. It is strange. It is a mind-boggling movie. It is so stupid. So, here's one of the reasons I could already tell. The cinematography is already more wackier and infinitely more fun than the last movie. So the last movie was trying to be more standard horror, whereas this movie is trying to be Evil Dead-esque, where like the camera just moves in really weird ways, and you get a lot of really weird angles, and it's really funny. Donald Pleasance is clearly getting so tired of being in these movies, so his acting is just off. Danielle Harris is trying really hard. She's probably the best actor in the movie. This 10-year-old child is the best actor in the movie, so, which is really funny. So, yeah, like I said, at the end of Halloween 4, it's heavily implied that the spirit of Michael Myers has taken over her body. Well, in this movie, Michael Myers returns anyway. So the way they explain the ending is that, oh, he has a psychic connection with her, and so then he made her kill her mother, so she didn't actually do it on her own volition. It's like, oh, that's stupid. Also, Michael Myers has been being nursed back to health by this random southerner who lives in the backwoods, and immediately when Michael is feeling better, which is a year exactly on Halloween, the year after the last Halloween, he just gets up and stabs the guy like it's nothing. It's like, oh, you just spent a year with this guy and you're just going to kill him like that? It's like, all right, whatever. The camera work and editing is so stupid in this movie. It's so tonally inconsistent. So, actually, not even that. It's unfinished, it feels like. It genuinely feels like there are shots missing from certain edits. It's hard to explain without actually watching through the movie. Like, you just have to watch it. Like, it really feels like certain shots are just cut so that they're shorter than they need to be. Like, it genuinely feels like things are missing in certain scenes. And that just kind of adds to how funny it is. It's so strange. It's like an alien made this movie. I'm like just watching it, and I'm like shaking my head in like bafflement. I'm just like, what is going on here? What am I watching? There's this scene that is so out of place where like these two bumbling cops walk up to one of the characters to talk to them, and they play this really playful music. The subtitles even say playful music playing. It's like, what? I thought this was a Halloween movie. Like, this is something you'd see at most in an Evil Dead movie, but even then I think Evil Dead is more serious than that. It's like, why are you playing this Looney Tunes fucking music right now? And it's the only time it happens in the entire movie. Like, I thought every time these cops were going to come back on, they were going to play this really crappy, playful, wonky music, but no, that's the one scene it happens in. It's like, what? Why? It's so out of place, but I love it every second. I love it. It's so dumb. There's this one scene where, so yeah, it's established that Jamie has a psychic connection with Michael, but she can also see where Tina's at. So Tina, her friend, well, Rachel's friend, who she's also friends with, she sees where Tina's at. So okay, she's with Michael, so I guess that's how she knows that Tina's in danger. And there's this one point where she's like, oh, Tina's in danger, but she can't really talk. Oh yeah, she can't talk for most of the movie. Why? Plot. So anyway, she's trying to tell people that Tina's in trouble, and Dr. Loomis is just like, oh, describe where she's at, and she's just like mouthing these words. Or she's like struggling to say them, and at one point she sees like the store that Tina's at has this advertisement for like cookies, I guess. It's like this very robust woman with big tits and she has cookies over her tits. And the way that Jamie describes it, she says, "Cookie woman," and the cop is just immediately like, "Oh, that's that certain blah 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 gas station, like go there." And then the next shot, 4 police cars surround Tina in the parking lot. It's like, oh my god, Cookie woman, are you fucking insane? Oh god, it was so funny. Cookie woman, that saved the day. Was Danielle Harris with all of her might saying Cookie woman. Good God, this movie is a masterpiece of the highest degree. It is so unbelievably insane. Just all these scenes, all these characters would probably annoy me, but the fact that it's just made in such a... It's hard to explain, but it's just... You have to experience this movie. You really do. I will admit, towards the end, it did kind of lose its energy because then it just became a standard Halloween movie where Michael Myers is stalking characters and then he kills them. And it's honestly not anything we haven't seen before. It's just, oh, he takes a pitchfork, stabs a guy, he takes a sickle and just chops off a woman's head, but you don't really see it. It's like, oh, well, okay, whatever. And then even the ending is really confusing. So the whole movie, Michael is being tailed by this weird guy in black, and then we never see that guy at all. Like, you think, oh, you see him in the shadows, you see him from the back, you think, oh, it's eventually going to reveal who he is towards the end. No, we never see that guy. Like, it's heavily implied that, like, he broke into the police station to get Michael out, a la, I don't know, Terminator scene, but we don't see them escape. We just see Jamie walk in, cry when she sees that Michael's cell has been broken into, and then the movie ends. That's it. It's like, oh my god, like, this movie's broken. It really feels like the movie's broken. And honest to God, I love it because of that. Holy shit, like, what an incredibly broken and baffling experience that was. I think that's why I am so nice to Halloween 4, even though I really don't like it. And the reason I want to keep it is because without Halloween 4, we wouldn't have Halloween 5. And I really feel like I can't watch Halloween 5 without Halloween 4. Honestly, these movies are so broken, I need to keep them. Like, I need to cherish them. They're not going to be on the same level as Halloween's 1, 2, and 3. I mean, Halloween 1 is obviously the best one. Halloween 3 is the second best. Halloween 2 has its moments, but Halloween's 4 and 5, even though they're not as good, and they are just they're just pretty broken, they're fascinating. I'm fascinated by these movies. I'm fascinated that Scream Factory or Shout Factory was like willing to put these movies on a 4K Blu-ray. It's like, really? Okay, sure. Put them on 4K, man. That's awesome that movies this dumb can get 4K transfers. I'm glad they can, actually, in fact, because then we get to experience them in the highest quality possible. So, if you couldn't tell, Halloween 5, I'm keeping. This is a very nice Blu-ray. It is a very stupid movie. I need to experience it over and over again. I highly recommend you guys check it out if you haven't watched it, but you're probably not going to get as much enjoyment out of it like I did. But whatever, I still recommend it. Okay, that's 5 movies. 5 really funny, really weird, really interesting movies. This is so far one of my longest episodes. This is so far one of the episodes where I've talked the most. Because, again, I've talked about 5 movies this episode, but we're not even halfway through the Halloween franchise as a whole. So I'm calling it quits tonight, obviously, because I've only seen the first 5, so I really can't talk about the other movies yet, but I will talk about them in their own episodes, don't you worry. So that's going to do it for part 1. I've got a bunch more Halloween movies to watch through, so stay tuned for those episodes when they're eventually ready. But as for now, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Just